This chapter explores changes over time in how prepared Americans are for retirement, with a focus on differences by race. Well-documented changes, such as the decline in the prevalence of defined benefit, DB, pensions, and the limited savings being accumulated by many families, have raised questions about whether today's retirees and near retirees will be as financially secure in their later years as were earlier cohorts. Understanding heterogeneity in financial security is especially important as the country considers possible changes in policies related to personal saving, pensions, Social Security, and other government programs that support older Americans. The importance of understanding heterogeneity in retirement preparation by race has been underscored by a growing literature that documents stark differences in wealth by race. Buddha et al. Report that the typical Black family in 2019 had less than 15% of the wealth of the typical white family, and the typical Hispanic family had wealth not much higher than the typical Black family. The same study shows that the wealth of Black families, as well as the gap between the median wealth of Blacks and whites, have changed little on net since the onset of the Great Recession. The low wealth of many Black families threatens various aspects of their economic security, including well-being in retirement. Yet racial disparities in conventional wealth measures, which typically capture just financial and non-financial assets, do not translate directly into disparities in retirement security. Racial differences in DB pension payments and Social Security payments need to be considered as well, as do other factors such as family structure. The main dataset used for our analysis, the Panel Study of Income Dynamics, PSID, is sufficiently comprehensive to allow us to consider many of these factors, at least to some degree. In addition, the PSID oversamples low-income families, which means that it has a relatively large number of minority participants, allowing for more precise estimates of racial gaps. We find that between 2001 and 2019, the median ratio of wealth to income declined by about 15% for families with white heads in their 50s and dropped by nearly 60% for families with Black heads in their 50s. The sharpest declines occurred following the Great Recession, and we find that long-term unemployment, which Black-headed families were about twice as likely to experience, is correlated with a smaller post-recession recovery in wealth. In addition, declines in home ownership during the early and mid-2010s, especially for Black-headed families, meant that fewer families benefited from the post-recession recovery in home prices. The prevalence of DB pensions also fell sharply between 2001 and 2019, with only 27% of families with white heads in their 50s and only 15% of families with Black heads in their 50s reporting a DB plan in 2019.